Today we are working on Programming Challenge 5 in the book Starting Out with Java, Chapter 9. So this programming challenge is to create a class called CourseGrades, and our job is to grade a student's tests. The student will have 4 tests. The first test would be a lab test that would have a numeric value. The second test would be a pass test, which would have 10 questions, and the minimum passing grade would be 70%. The third test would be an essay that would have a numeric score, and the last one, final exam, would have 50 questions. So our job is to grade those 4 tests. So the first class that we will create is a class called GradedActivity. The GradedActivity would have 2 fields. The first field will be score, and the second field will be max score, for the maximum score. So we will generate a constructor for this class that will have these 2 fields, and we also have to generate the getters and setters for this class as well. Also, we need a method called double get percentage. You have to get the percentage of the test. So we will say double percent, and we will get the score. Then we will divide the percent by get max score, and we will basically also multiply it by 100, and we will return the percent. So this class is finished. So we have to, once we create the graded class, we have to create those 4 classes. We just created a way to grade the classes, but we have to create another 4 classes in order to complete the assignment. The 4 classes are lab, fail, pass class, essay class, and final exam class that would inherit from this class a grade activity, because all these 4 classes would be graded according to this class. So we will create those classes in a moment. Called PassFail class for the PassFail test. So we will extend the class that we created called GradedActivity, and this class would have 2 fields. The first field would be, both of them are static, would be the minimum passing grade. They said it has to be 70 for this class. The second field would be max questions. They are 10. So we'll create the constructor. The constructor will take the correct count, how many questions we got correct, and we will pass it here, and we will pass the max questions here. We also need to need to create a method that will return whether the student passed this test or not. So we will create a Boolean method, and we will create a field called score, and here we will say we have to cast it with double, and then super get score divided by super get max score, and after that we will multiply it by 100, and we will return true only if it is at least equal or greater to the minimum passing grade, because that's what they told us. It has to be 70 or above in order to pass. Otherwise, this method would return false, meaning the student failed this class pass-fail test. So we created two classes, the graded activity one, and we created pass-fail class. Now we have to create the final exam class, the essay class, and we have to create the lab class. Another class called it's called final exam. It would inherit from graded activity class, and this class, they said, has max questions of 50. So we have to create the constructor, and the constructor takes a correct count, how many questions we got right, and we pass to the constructor of the class that we inherited the correct count and the max. Max question. This is the correct number of questions that we got right, and here is the maximum questions that the final exam has. So so far we created 3 classes. This was a graded activity class to grade all tests, and then we created a PassFail class. This test is whether the student passed the test or not. It inherits from GradedActivity, and it only has one Boolean method that will return true if the student got the minimum passing grade, which is 70. Otherwise, the method would return false, meaning the student got lower than 70. And after that, after these 3 classes, they said we have to create a class called CourseGrades. So just copy this, and we will create a class CourseGrades, and this class would have an array, but before that we have to create the 4 tests. The first test would be the lab. The second test would be PassFail class. The third would be the essay, which they said we can use graded activity class. And lastly, we use the final exam Then we have to create a graded activity array called grades that has four elements, 4 classes. Then they said we have to create those 4 methods: setLab, setPassFail, setEssay, setPassFailExam, and a toString method. We have to create all these methods. So we'll say setLab. So the lab would you have to set the grades, the first element of the grades, to the lab. Then we have to say set PassFail, and we have to set the second element of grades to PassFail class. Then set essay would be set to the third element of the grades, and we have to set a final PassFailExam method, which would be the fourth element of the method. Then they said we have to create a toString method. So we will just delete this, and we will return an empty string. Then we will create a decimal format, df decimal format, and then we will create a string letter grade. Then we will say double %0 int index 0, and we will create an array I will call test names. So the first one would be lab test. Second will be pass-fail test. The third would be essay test, and lastly would be a final exam. Then we will use for loop graded activity, and we will say activity, and we will go to the grades array. You have to get the percentage of each test, get percentage. Then we will say if a percentage is greater or equal to 90, then letter grade would be A. Else if is 80, percentage is 80, then it's B. Else if percentage is 70, letter grade is equal to C. Else if the percentage is greater than 60, then it's letter grade equal to D. Otherwise, then they will say it's F. So then we will print a grade 4. Then we will say test name index and plus. Then we will say activity get score, then activity get max score, then we say percentage activity get percentage, and we will add the percentage sign, and here we will say grade equal letter grade and here lastly we have to increment the index, and I think that would be it for this method toString. So let's create a main method and test our program so far. So we have to create a instance of course grades, and then we have to instantiate all 4 classes: GradedActivity, lab, GradedActivity. So we have to give some data. So let's say the score is 27 out of 30 for the lab test. Then we'll say PassFail class, new PassFail class. Let's say the person got 8 out of 10. Then we will say graded activity essay, new graded activity, and this person got 29 out of 30. 30. And last class is final exam. Final exam has 50 questions, so let's say we got 44 correct. Then we have to set all the methods that we created in the course grades class. setLab, so we have to set it to lab. setPassFail method to PassFail class. Course set to essay to essay. Course set to final exam. Then we say course toString. So let's run it and see if we got correct. Let me add a space after here just to give room, and let's run it again. First test is the lab. We got 27 out of 30. The percentage is 90%. That's A. The second test is pass-fail test. We got 8 out of 10. And we got 80%. That's grade B. And I haven't used the decimal format class. That's why it's repeating the decimal points here. The third test is an essay test. I got 29 out of 30, which is A. Last test is the final exam, which I got 44 out of 50, which is 88%, which is 0%. So let's add the decimal format to the percentage, get percentage method. df format, then we paste it this line. So once we run again, it should correct the decimal. It should round up to the nearest tenth or nearest hundredths. As you can see here, it's 96.7%, which is A. 88% A. A, B, A, C. But let's change a little bit here. Instead of 8, let's say I got 5, which is a failing grade. And here 39. Let's run it. The first test I got A. The second test I got F, which is 5 out of 10, 50%. And the third I got A. The last final exam I got C, which is 39 out of 50. Is 78%. So we got all the requirements for this assignment. They said we have to create a course grades class that would have these methods: setLab, setPassFail, setEssay, setFileExam, and toString. And we have to demonstrate it. And we did all of these. And here they said we have to create an array that would hold these 4 classes: the lab, the pass-fail, the essay, and final exam. And we did. We created the graded activity class. Then we created a PassFail class. Then we created the final exam class. Then lastly, we created the CourseGrades class. So we fulfill all the requirements for this. Thank you for watching, and if you like these kind of videos, please subscribe and like the video and comment. If you want the source code for this, let me know. I will post it in GitHub or somewhere. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.